All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. So just a couple of things before we get started. You will be able to ask all of your questions at the end of the meeting. We have several presenters that will be presenting information. So we are tracking all of the questions through the chat box. So if you see a little icon at the bottom of your screen and it has a little chat box, it looks like a computer screen. That's where you would type in your questions. Please make sure you send all of your questions to all the panelists so that way everybody on the group can see the questions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be sharing a presentation with everybody. Can everybody see the presentation along with our panelists here at the bottom of the screen? Clayton, if you could give me a thumbs up that everybody is showing on this panelist box. Got it. Okay, great. Thank you. So first of all, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to learn about this critical project that is going on here in Phoenix. My name is Athena Sanchez. I'm the Public Information Officer for the City of Phoenix Water Services Department. Let me get to our next slide. All right. And as you can see here, we have quite a few staff members on the project. First, we have Troy Hayes. He's our Assistant Director for the City of Phoenix Water Services Department. Darlene Helm, who is our Deputy Water Services Director, and she is also here on the call. She will be presenting and be able to answer questions at the end of the presentation. And that's me right there. And then over here we have Clayton Freed. He is the project manager for this Drought Pipeline Project. So he is the project manager who can really answer a lot of questions specifically about what's going on with the project and really just getting into some of those details regarding the project. Right down here we have Chris Ellison. He is the project manager for our construction team. He is the construction team that is actually building the Drought Pipeline Project. Over here, you've probably seen, if you live along 32nd Street, you've probably seen these two faces out canvassing or really just getting to know the area and the residents. This is Graham Walters. He's our public information specialist. He is part of our public outreach team. So he and Kristen Dar over here, the outreach and public information manager, they're really responsible for getting that information out to you guys. They're your go-to people if you have questions throughout the project. They are readily available to answer questions or if you have any feedback regarding the project. And they're both here available today as well. So Kristen's going to be facilitating those questions here at the end of the project once you guys enter all those questions into the chat box. Okay. So Darlene, are you available? Ready? There we go.
Yep. Okay. So good morning, everyone. I want to thank everyone for joining us today to hear about the Drought Pipeline Project. In order to understand the need for the project, I want to give you a little background on where Phoenix gets our water and how that water is moved to our customers. So as you can see on the slide, 98% of our water we deliver to our customers is surface water or from rivers. And only about 2% comes from groundwaters pumped through wells. So 58% is from the Salt and Verde River system, delivered to us through the Salt River Project Canal system at 3 of our water treatment plants. And then 40% is from the Colorado River system, delivered to us through the Central Arizona Project at 2 water treatment plants. Our dependency on surface water forces us to be constantly vigilant regarding climatic conditions and to be forward thinking about preparations for a hotter and drier future. Unfortunately, the Colorado River is over allocated by approximately 1.2 million acre feet which is roughly equal to 4 times the amount of water the entire city of Phoenix uses in a year. It's a large overallocation and a large problem. And to make matters worse, scientists tell us that the flows on the Colorado River may diminish as much as 25% in the future. Next slide. So there are 2 major reservoirs on the Colorado River, Lake Powell and Lake Mead. Lake Powell is about 50% full, and Lake Mead water levels are hovering around historic lows. So the slide you're looking at, I'm sure you've seen a picture like this of Lake Mead and how dramatically the water levels have fallen in the last 20 years. So you can see in 1998, it was near the top of the dam, and now how far it's dropped in the last 20 years. So we are in a drought on the Colorado River system, and even though the watershed received snow this last winter, and we're seeing a little bit of snow now, we need many more winters like this one for water levels in the lakes Powell and Mead to recover. And this is concerning because water levels in Lake Mead determine water allocation restrictions on the Colorado River system. So the Bureau of Reclamation, which runs the Colorado River system, sent their latest water level predictions here recently based on current conditions. So their projections show that if we experience the same poor hydrology, rainfall and snowfall that we did in the early 2000s, that Lake Mead water levels could fall below elevation 1025 by as early as 2024. This is important because below Lake Mead water elevation 1025, the amount of Colorado River water to which Phoenix would have access is completely uncertain. Again, it's a prediction, and worst case scenarios may not happen. It may snow, like crazy in the Rocky Mountains, where basically our watershed is for the Colorado River system over the next several years. But hoping for snow is not a valid water management strategy for the city of Phoenix. Our core function is to provide safe and reliable water deliveries to all of our customers. So we need to be prepared for restrictions. Next slide. Okay, so again, why is Lake Mead important to Phoenix? So as I mentioned, water levels in Lake Mead determine water restrictions on the Colorado River system. So you can see the water drop moving along the canal. So this basically is how we're getting that Colorado River water delivered to Phoenix through the Central Arizona Project. So just some background on the how we get that water to our customers. So our water system is very bifurcated. So we have the blue area that you're seeing in the north, and then the green area. And this is basically a map of the city of Phoenix. So for the most part, those who live south of the Arizona Canal, shown in green, receive salt and Verde River water delivered through the SRP canal system. Those who live north of the Arizona Canal, here shown in blue, and that's approximately 400,000 people, receive Colorado River water delivered through the Central Arizona Project. Our ability to move water between the blue and green areas, could you go back one slide? There we go. So our ability to move water between the blue and green areas is very limited because of just how our system was developed over time. So we have supplies on the Salt and Verde rivers that are legally allowed to use outside the boundary of SRP. And we have some surface water where we've previously stored underground that we can use in case of restrictions on the Colorado River system. We also have native groundwater supplies that are available to use as a last resort. So we have enough water supplies, but what we lack is the infrastructure to push the water where it needs to go during times of severe shortage on the Colorado River. So with our existing distribution system, how we move water, we can't push enough salt and Verde supplies north to meet demand. And we cannot meet demands in North Phoenix on groundwater alone. This is because our water distribution system was designed and built to be dependent on a small number of large water sources that are basically coming from our 5 water treatment plants. And our pipeline is not designed to be dependent on a large number of small sources of water in the form of wells. It just doesn't work hydraulically. Slide. So to reiterate, in order to serve our customers and build resiliency in our water system, Phoenix Water needs the infrastructure to move local water supplies north. These improvements are to provide water supply for our existing customers. So as you can see through these pictures, this is basically just all the areas that you think of, you know, in North Phoenix right now to provide that water to our existing customers. And now I'll turn the presentation over to Clayton Freed, who will talk about the project in more detail.
Thank you, Darlene. So the Drought Pipeline Program includes several projects to build new infrastructure to move water north and add overall resiliency to the Phoenix water system. This includes 12 miles of new pipeline to carry water between different parts of our system, as well as 4 new pump stations to push that water where it needs to go. We're holding this meeting today specifically to discuss the projects mostly along the 32nd Street corridor, including a new pump station we're building at 31st Street just south of Bell Road, as well as the new 66-inch pipeline we're building through the Phoenix Mountains Preserve up to Bell Road and 32nd Street. And while we're on this slide, there was a question in the chat box I wanted to address, confirming that the pipe from Glendale Avenue up to Bell Road is a new pipe. It is going to be a brand new 66-inch pipeline. As you can see on the map, there is an existing 48-inch pipeline that's also being replaced and rehabilitated. But this Drought Pipeline Project is mainly focused around the new 66-inch pipeline. If we could go to the next slide. Okay. So the new pump station I mentioned that's on 31st Street just south of Bell Road, it's shown in the image on the right. This pump station will be used to move water around in North Phoenix once the water is pumped up through the 66-inch pipeline. The image on the left is a 3D simulation based off of our design of what this pump station will look like when it's complete. As you can see, the entrance will be off 31st Street, and the pump station will include a perimeter block wall fence as well as new landscaping along the 31st Street frontage. So these images help to show the overall alignment of the 66-inch pipeline along the 32nd Street corridor. The 66-inch pipeline, if you kind of look from north to south, it will connect to our existing pipelines at 32nd Street and Bell Road, and will be installed along 31st Street between Bell Road and Greenway in order to connect to the new pump station we just mentioned on 31st Street. The pipeline will then go back to 32nd Street all the way from Greenway down to the south side of Shea. And south of Shea, it will start to follow the Northern Avenue frontage road on the northwest side of SR 51 between 32nd Street and 26th Street. So just east of 26th Street and Northern Avenue, we'll be boring a tunnel underneath SR 51 in order to connect with the 66-inch pipeline being installed through the Phoenix Mountains Preserve. So if you travel on major streets in Phoenix or any other city, you'll find that these streets often seem to be under construction. This is because the utilities that residents and businesses rely on, such as water, sewer, telecommunications, electricity, natural gas, even storm drains, all these things underlie those major streets. This is certainly true of 32nd Street, which has more underground utilities even than the example shown here. This illustration shows what it looks like under a typical street, you know, a web of pipelines and utilities that carry the services that power our lives and livelihoods. It is typical for some utilities to have to be moved to make way for new pipelines being installed, and this is the case for the Drought Pipeline Project. So you will see here that not only will the 66-inch pipeline be installed during the overall construction period, but there's other utilities that will have construction activities in the area starting even in the next few months and throughout the construction period in order to move their facilities and make room for the 66-inch drought pipeline installation. So it is a very complex process to take our large water mains out of service, because we have to ensure that when we do that, there's always water available to our customers. So oftentimes we do this during the winter months, starting around this time of year. So we will be installing the valve and connection to our existing pipeline at 32nd Street and Bell during a limited window that we can take that existing pipeline down. So some of the construction we're going to do in the 32nd Street and Bell intersection is actually going to start taking place soon in November 2020 through January 2021, prior to the rest of the construction, which will start closer to April 21, again, so we can make this critical connection to our existing pipeline during the winter months. Multiple utility relocations will start taking place as well in various locations along the pipeline routes, and the 66-inch pipeline itself will start being installed in approximately April of 2021. The 66-inch pipeline itself will be installed in multiple simultaneous construction headings in order to complete the pipeline installation by the end of 22. And this, again, is in preparation for potential drought-related restrictions. The pipeline will generally be constructed from north to south, again, in those multiple headings. And more specific dates and locations will be provided in project outreach updates as we get closer to construction and develop, more detailed construction schedules. We are coordinating closely with the streets department as they are planning to construct 32nd Street corridor improvements from Shea to Choya sometime after the pipeline is installed. So the pipeline work south of Shea and along the Northern Avenue frontage road, that will start in around June 2021. Around the same time, the tunnel under SR 51 will start being installed. So south of that, within the preserve, that construction will start in spring 2021, again as soon as April 21, and will follow mostly pre-disturbed areas, including the existing bike path in the Dreamy Draw area, which will be restored along with a new pedestrian path at the end of construction, along with surface and landscape restoration. The work in the preserve will also take place at the same time as parks improvements to the Dreamy Draw recreation area in order to minimize the overall duration of impacts to users of the recreation area. So I will now turn the presentation over to Chris Ellison with Sun Construction, who will talk about the construction activities and what to expect. Thank you.
Thanks, Clayton. Like Clayton said, my name's Chris Ellison. I'm with Sun Construction, and I'm here to just kind of inform you about the construction process and what you can expect. We've kind of narrowed it down here to 5 key items. One is preparing the work zone. Next would be the excavation and installation of the pipe, followed by backfilling the pipe and then restoring the roadway. To kind of go a little deeper into each item, as far as work zone preparation, what that means to us is we're going to be getting traffic control set up. With the traffic control, we're going to make sure that we maintain pedestrian access. We're going to ensure that any bus stops that would be affected with the traffic control are temporarily closed and relocated, and that's communicated to the public. We're going to start saw cutting the asphalt and removing it. And ultimately, you know, we'll make sure that all the traffic control before it goes up is signed and messaged with variable message boards throughout the area that will be impacted. Next slide, please. So once it comes to installing the pipe is rather large, like Clayton said, it's 66 inches or 5.5 feet, which means we're going to have a large excavation that'll approximately be about 10 foot wide and on average about 20 foot deep. You know, 10 foot wide is almost about the average lane width on 32nd Street. So we'll be taking up, you know, one lane with just our excavation. So during the course of that, you know, we'll be using different trench safety items such as trench boxes, slide rail, or speed shores to help protect our workers and the public. Next slide, please. So once we get the pipe installed and tested, we'll be backfilling the pipe. And then ultimately restoring the roadway by paving it back and getting it cleaned up so that we can open it back up to traffic. Next slide, please. So some things during construction, just so everyone's aware, is that we will be working during the city's approved hours. They do vary between the winter and summer months due to temperature and daylight hours. When we aren't working, we'll be making sure that all of our work zone is secured, so that vehicles and pedestrians are aware that there's a construction zone. There will be the possibility that we'll be using personnel with flags to assist vehicles through active work areas when needed. Again, I've mentioned this, we'll be adding pre-warning information such as variable message boards and signing to let everyone know about the upcoming work zones. We will ensure that we maintain all ADA compliant pedestrian walkways and accessibility through the course of the project. We will be using water trucks and street sweepers to mitigate any dust caused by the construction. We'll be communicating with fire, police, and emergency medical services so that they're aware of the traffic restrictions on 32nd and the major intersections as well, so that they know how to route and dispatch accordingly. We will be temporarily relocating bus stops as needed. They will be signed and a temporary one will be set up with signage. There will be weekend work and night work throughout the project that will be communicated through our outreach efforts when those times are needed. And ultimately, there are a couple schools along the alignment and school access will be maintained. They will be a stakeholder that we communicate with often to ensure that they're aware so that they can let all of the students and parents know how to access the school. You know, ultimately, it will be a construction zone. We will have people out there. The speed limit will most likely be reduced. So please use caution when traveling through the work zone. It's not only for our craft professionals, but for the traveling public and pedestrians. You know, we want to make sure that everyone goes home safe at the end of the day.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you everybody who presented. Now, we gave you a lot of information just now regarding what's going on with the project and some timelines and construction variables. These are the different ways that you can receive that information. We do put out regular door hangers to notify the public of anything that would be significant concerning the project. So you should have received a door hanger regarding this public meeting. You'll receive door hangers if there's a significant construction impact that we really need to notify the community in the area. You could also sign up for an email update. That's waterworks@phoenix.gov. We do send out regular emails weekly throughout the project to notify the community of closures, of what to expect the following week. And this will really be helpful for you if you would just like a weekly reminder of what to look for. And if the audio cut out at all, please, I apologize for that. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the couple items I just mentioned. We do have a door hanger that goes out, and the door hanger actually goes out to notify the community and the surrounding area of the project of anything that is significant. So you should have received a door hanger regarding this virtual public meeting. We'll also be sending out door hangers if anything else major comes up regarding the project. We also have an email update. You can sign up to receive regular emails. We send out emails once a week regarding construction updates, and this would include closures to expect the following week, what to expect as far as traffic, and just anything that really is concerning the project in that next week or so. And you can sign up for that at waterworks at phoenix.gov. We also have a project app that will be coming soon. So this is actually an app that you can download if you would like instant information regarding closures, if you don't want to wait for your weekly email, or if you have a question regarding a closure. This project app that is free to download on your phone will be available soon and will provide a lot of information for you regarding the business access, the closures along the streets, and anything else really to expect, but it's available right at your fingertips, so you don't have to wait for that weekly email update. And I wanted to share with you some resources that we have available. We have the project website, which is phoenix.gov/droughtpipeline. We do update that website regularly, so that way you can get information. There's also a project hotline. Now, this project hotline is available for you to call and notify our project staff of anything that is concerning to you, or if you have a question, or even if you'd like to set up an individual stakeholder meeting with our project team, we can do that virtually. The phone number is 602-235-2666. And of course, I mentioned the project email, and I will say it again. Waterworks at phoenix.gov. So if you'd like to sign up for that, just send your name and your email to that email address and we'll get you added to our database. And now it looks like we have some questions coming in. So it looks like we do have some questions coming in. Let's see. Kristen, do you want to go ahead and start facilitating those questions for us?
Sure, no problem. Good morning, everyone. Clayton, you indicated you could answer our question from Brian, which is, will 32nd Street remain open and just be reduced to 2 lanes? If so, do you know which side of the street will contain the pipe? Will you attempt to mitigate traffic redirection through neighborhoods?
Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, so obviously when there's construction on 32nd Street, there will be restrictions in traffic control, but 32nd Street will remain open. It will just be a matter of how many lanes the traffic is reduced to in a given area at a certain time. So the pipeline is going to be in various locations within the street, depending on the location you're concerned about. If you do have a specific concern, let's say a business along 32nd Street, we would encourage you to again reach out to one of the hotline number or the email address, and then we can have someone discuss that with you. We just can't provide the precise location of the pipeline due to critical infrastructure laws and regulations. So we will attempt to mitigate traffic redirection through neighborhoods. Part of the traffic control planning process, we work with the streets department and their experts, and obviously a lot of that stuff is going to happen during construction, and depending on what construction activities and the traffic control needed. But they do kind of take a holistic look at the impacts to the overall area when they're planning traffic control.
All right, next question. Kristen, if you have another question from the audience.
Doesn't look like we do, Athena. I'll check the Q&A box just in case. The only other question was the question that Clayton answered earlier, that this is a new pipeline versus a rehab of an existing pipeline.
Right. Great. So if there aren't any other questions, let me see.
We just got another one. What is the time frame that traffic will be restricted on 32nd Street and on Bell? So I believe at the intersection there, Clayton?
Yeah, so there again, the construction coming up within a couple weeks and starting in November. So that those restrictions will happen starting fairly soon, and they'll last basically through early January of 21. We will be coming back to complete work within that intersection later on. Once the rest of the construction starts, so there will be basically a 2 to 3 month windows starting very soon, as well as another couple months of construction down the road, but we don't know the precise date of the second window at this time.
And I have a couple questions that are coming in to me as the host, so I'll just start asking those questions. What is the time frame the park bike path will be restricted?
Sure. So basically, once that construction starts around April 21, that restriction will last basically until that work is complete, which we're anticipating would be around the fall of 2022. But that's the general time frame. So it would be about a year, possibly more, that the bike path would be restricted. And then, of course, since some of it is going to be removed as part of the construction, one of the final construction activities will be restoring the new bike path. So it won't be until the end of that construction in 2022 that it will be available again.
Thank you, Clayton. Another question I have, and this might go to Chris. Will the access road by the 51 be closed at any point?
I'm actually going to have to defer that to Clayton. We stopped just south of Shea with our project. So I don't see the need to close the access road to the 51 on segment 2's project, but I'm unfamiliar with what's happening south of Shea.
So to the audience, to clarify, are you speaking of the area north or south of Shea along the 51? So the question is south of the 51. So that,
Okay,
Clayton,
so
that would be you. So we'll
yeah, so yeah, there is access to SR 51, basically kind of through the northern frontage road or 26th Street. So we are anticipating closures of the Northern Avenue frontage road, but the access to the 51 itself would not be closed. You just might have to go through, say, 26th Street to access it.
Thank you, Clayton. For the next question, what is the status of the 66-inch on Myrtle to Orangewood?
Yeah, so the project portion from Myrtle to Orangewood, that's also anticipated to start construction sometime in 21, possibly summer, fall, and be complete in 22. But again, that detailed schedule hasn't not been finalized yet. But at least a month or two in advance of construction, we'll have precise dates that will be shared.
And just another note, we're working on the existing 48-inch pipeline in the area right now. And there will be some construction in the area between Orangewood and Myrtle beginning again in January. So we had to, the crews had to move and work on other areas of the 48-inch pipeline in that area while during this time, and they'll be back working in that area. Basically, it's going to be after the beginning of the year, so it's February through April of 2021.
Thank you, Darlene and Clayton. And just a reminder, if you would like to receive regular updates regarding the schedule or regarding any of the upcoming construction activities, I do recommend that you sign up for our Waterworks at phoenix.gov email, and that will be able to give you access to those regular updates. We have a couple more questions, so I'll just go ahead and go through those. where?
Okay, Athena,
Oh,
just
sorry.
real quick, I have another one too, just so you know.
Sure, thank you, Kristen. I'm going to go through these couple that we have here, and then if we have any additional, I will pass it over to you. So where can we get information about the planned park improvements that will be happening simultaneously? And I'll go ahead and answer that one for the group. You can actually visit phoenix.gov/parks. We don't have all of that information regarding the parks improvement, but the Parks Department has all of that information available on their website. They also have an email that you can sign up to receive updates regarding the park improvements. So that's your best place to get that information. And it looks like we had another similar question. It's regarding that 32nd Street to 31st Street, the time frame of the construction. Just to reiterate, we haven't completely finalized the construction schedule, but your best place to get that information really is that email address that I mentioned before. So if you would like to sign up for that to receive regular updates, of course, also you can call the hotline number to set up a meeting with our project team, or if you have any other questions regarding that construction in the area. So Kristen, if you have any additional questions, and anybody else in the audience, if you have any additional questions, go ahead and type them into the chat. We do have a few more minutes left, so we will hang out and just make sure we get all those questions answered.
Thanks, Athena. The question from Joel here was about Bell Road between 32nd Street and 31st Street, the same question that you were just talking about.
Thank you, Kristen. So we'll give you guys a few minutes. We'll stay on, another 5 or 10 minutes and let people kind of answer some questions or ask their questions or think about any questions that they have. And we'll keep an eye out for the chat box. Again, thank you so much for participating in our public meeting. I am going to put the screen on the information where you can sign up for the email, or you have access to the hotline phone number, just so you have it and you can write it down in case you missed it.
Athena, this is Darlene. It looks like there's a question in the Q&A box.
Do we have another one? Let's see what we have down here. Oh, I may have missed this one. Can you download? Oh, I'm sorry, my screen is not allowing me to see this question.
I can see it.
Okay, well, go ahead. Kristen, if you can see it, it's not allowing me.
Okay, what will the impact on businesses along 32nd Street and how are they being outreached?
Kristen, I think that's for you.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that question. Our team started visiting businesses individually. We started up at Bell, businesses along 32nd Street, including other major traffic generators such as schools and churches. We started those visits last month. We had have a questionnaire, and we're talking to different businesses about their different concerns or needs related to delivery times or heavy traffic times and those sorts of things. For example, for schools, drop off and pick up. So we will continue that outreach. We also personally door hang the businesses for this meeting. So like Athena talked about before, when there's really important things, we will come visit the business, or if there's going to be activity outside a certain shopping center, we'll talk to the businesses within that shopping center about the activity. So it's a very hands-on approach to outreach, and the impacts will be traffic impacts. There's going to be lane restrictions. So in terms of impact on businesses, so they also will receive our weekly email updates.
Kristen, I just wanted to ask a question as you were speaking. It reminded me, but will access to businesses be maintained throughout construction?
The answer to that question is yes. And I think that's actually also a question for Chris, the contractor.
Yeah, so to elaborate on that, we'll be doing our best to make sure that everyone maintains their access through the course of construction. People or businesses that have multiple driveways, there is the probability that one of those driveways will be closed one at a time so that we can work our way through that area. It will help expedite us getting through the area quicker and getting you back fully open sooner. But again, that'll be part of what Kristen and myself work on, is making sure that we go out there and alert you ahead of time so that you know it's coming, so that we can work and coordinate around schedules and deliveries and peak business times. So we'll do our best to minimize our impact.
Thank you, Chris. And one other question that I see coming in is that, or through the Q&A box, is can we download the slides and is this recorded? So we are recording this meeting and it will be available for viewing on the Drought Pipeline webpage. So it's phoenix.gov/droughtpipeline. So you'll be able to view this meeting until I think about the end of the year is when we'll have it posted. The slides will be available through the recording of the meeting. So you can watch the meeting, you'll be able to go through and see the slides.